to Cork in Ireland and Paul O'Rourke, another regular. Paul, how are you doing, mate?
I was a lot better about 2 hours ago, but today was disappointing, extremely disappointing. As much as I am Anjin, and absolutely what Melvin just said, that this is a project, it's very, very disappointing that there is categorically no plan B for any kind of scenario that happens on the pitch in real time. Like we saw about 10 minutes towards the end of the game today, Nuno Espirito Santo took off, Morgan Gibbs White, brought on a Brazilian defender.
Yeah.
Like we had most of the ball. No, we never, to be honest, if we were still there now on our own, we probably wouldn't have scored. We never looked like scoring, but he was reacting to the fact that we had the vast majority of the ball, and if a chance came, they were going to have an extra defender. They were going to make sure that, to the best of their ability, we were not going to score today. There, he reacted to what was happening in front of them, where Ange just doesn't seem to do this at all. And it's extremely frustrating, extremely disappointing that it's just one way and one way only. If we win, we win, fantastic. If we don't, we move on to the next game. It can't be just as simple as that. There has to be more. There has to be more to a gameplay than this is just the way we play.
Paul, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Melvin. What is the worst case scenario here, realistically, in terms of, let's say hypothetically, and based on all of the leaks coming out of the club, that the club are going to stand by Ange. What is the worst case scenario potentially league-wise?
I suppose worst case now, I think we do have to take into consideration our lengthy injury list, which if you take out your first choice centre halves, your first choice, you got a couple of midfielders and so on, out of any team in the Premier Division, then you will probably struggle, or you won't do as well as you usually would. So we have to take that into consideration. But league-wise, I think worst case scenario, maybe mid-table, maybe where we are now. But that then has to be coupled. Like we touched on it after the Liverpool game. I generally think after Christmas, not too sure whether we're going to go into the transfer market or not, or whether the players that Ange wants are available. January is always a fickle month to sign players or get the right players. And he has said from day one when he came in, he doesn't just want a player that's available. He wants a player that wants to come and play for Spurs. He wants a player that will buy into the philosophy of what he is doing. That's not everybody. That's not every player. I do think that when it comes to after Christmas, in the new year, the competitions that we are left in, like you touched on it with Melvin there as well, as regards of winning a competition or winning a trophy. Like we are still in 3 cup competitions, a semi-final of one. We're probably going to get through to the knockout stages of the Europa League, which I think, if I'm honest, is probably our best chance of winning a cup this year, not the League Cup. I know we're in the semi-final. We're only potentially 3 games away from lifting a trophy in the Carabao Cup. I still think the European competition is our best chance. I just think that this home and away in Europe, getting our full strength team back, providing they all stay injury free, is our best chance.
Well, Paul, can I say this? I think our only chance of winning the Europa League, and I've said this all season, is if we win the Carabao Cup first. I think it's if we can. Listen, I'm going to try and sprinkle some positivity on what I know is going to be a very negative show. I think Liverpool is the right team for us to play in that 2-legged semi-final, because I think they will rotate heavily with Champions League games around then, and obviously being top of the league, etc., etc. So I think that's the right one. And I think even being at home first is good for us, because it means when we don't have our players back, which we won't first week of January, we're playing at home, which gives us more of a chance to stay in the tie. and then hopefully we'll have the likes of Van der Ven and Romero back for the second leg. And then if we can then get to that final and win that cup, I think that would allow then Ange to be like, okay, this is the mentality change that I'm talking about. And that's if Ange is still in charge then, and get into the team that or get off their backs that feeling that Spurs can't win anything. And then I think we could win the Europa League. But I have to say, I do not see us winning two-legged ties in kind of pressure situations in quarters or semis or maybe even last 16s of Europa Leagues in the state that Tottenham are in at the moment.
No, yeah, no, look, I agree on that. Like, what I'm saying is all dependent on whether we can get our squad fully fit.
Yeah.
Like, if you were putting out the team and squad that we have now, there's absolutely no chance. We looked very, very tired today.
But Paul, how from your point of view, how responsible is Ange Postecoglou for the injury crisis? Bear in mind, we've got two more players out for the next game now. Dragoshin looks like a muscle injury to me, and obviously Jed Spence got sent off. So two more defenders need replacing.
Yeah, I suppose we all know how intense Ange's training philosophy is. The only thing I will say, and no, I'm from Ireland. Nearly everybody in Ireland kind of has an affinity with Glasgow Celtic as well. We always keep an eye on them, so on. They never had this issue with injuries in the 2 years Ange was there.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's down to the players. Maybe it's just gotten more intense because, they're different levels of leagues, different levels of opponents. Maybe it's gotten a bit harder because the Tottenham players need to be that bit fitter. But I think he is partly responsible. Like the workload to get them that fit to play that type of football must be absolutely massive. But you can't putting the strain on players like that. It is going to take its toll, and it has now. It absolutely has. Like Mickey Van de Ven has been out injured now twice long term with exactly the same injury. Now there was only questions, was it last week or the week before, about the medical staff and looking at either replacing him or there's a review in the club towards the medical staff and see if that is an issue. I don't think it is. To be honest, it must be happening on the training pitch.
Yeah.
The workload must be that heavy.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think maybe as fans, or those of us, myself included, those of us not paying enough attention to how responsible Ange is for that, that might be the case. I mean, it's a weird situation, isn't it? If Ange was sacked, let's say, because like I said, I really fear these Wolves and Newcastle games. Let's say Ange lost his job after that, because I think if he did lose those games, I think he would. And it'd be a weird situation when we'd have a new manager coming in who's basically saying, guys, train less hard. Whereas usually every manager that goes into a new club is just like, they weren't training hard enough. But there are just too many injuries from my point of view. Paul, thank you so much, honestly, for calling in. Thanks for being a part of the show. And obviously hope to speak to you after the next game too.
Absolutely. Look after yourself. Take care.